Well, thanks again. And as I say, thank you for supporting me for our first coordinator meeting. And so you've joined PROBUS Canada, and I want to welcome you. I want to ask you a few questions. First, have you been active in any of the activities that are associated with PROBUS Global? And have you checked out the website at probusglobal.org? Have you attended a PROBUS Global meeting? Have you chatted with friends from around the world or checked out the interest groups? I could go on. But I'm sure your answers would be not yet, maybe a couple of them, or maybe I've been working on the website for a few times. So today I'd like to introduce you to the different aspects offered to PROBUS Global members and hope that you will benefit by some of our suggestions. I'm still having trouble getting this to move.
It's working here.
Okay. So what is PROBUS Global? First of all, the website states that it's a global community and you connect to make new friends, to share your passion, to travel, to learn and grow. And that's a lot of activity to be provided, especially at no cost. So PROBUS Global, it started in 1996 as a chat group. And there were only 13 members, and they were from Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. And it was known as the Informal PROBUS Network, or IPN. And they had quite a few people. In fact, at one point, they ended up with 50 or more, and they decided they would build it up some more. So in 2000, several countries, including Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the UK, created International PROBUS Network, which was still IPN. And they actually worked up to about 160 members, but then things started to happen. The same thing that happens to some of our older clubs, aging and health and so on. And it was being depleted. But in 2018, IPM was rebooted and it was called PROBUS Global. How did all this happen? How did it all happen? Well, in 2017, I became the Atlantic Director for Atlantic Canada following Steve Campbell from Shediac, New Brunswick. And you heard some of the members before the meeting talking about Steve. Steve had been on the PROBUS Canada board for 6 years, and he'd served one term as the president. And following Steve's last meeting, the new president coming in, who was Richard Furlong, whom we all know, was talking to Steve, and he said, so Steve, what are you going to do next? And Steve's comment was, well, I'd like to get something going globally. So Richard's reply was that he would be willing to help out. So these two then got in touch with Shirley Roberts. She was the president of IPN in the UK, and they worked with her, and they supported and planned how to achieve a global unit for all PROBUS members worldwide. And in 2018, the IPN was rebooted, and that's how it became known as PROBUS Global. Unfortunately, as you just heard, Steve passed away in June, and not less than 2 weeks after, Shirley also passed away. And we just couldn't believe this at the time. And I did go to Steve's funeral, and I also attended Shirley's funeral by Zoom. They both played a pivotal part in establishing PROBUS Global, and we salute them for their accomplishments. And we know that they're certainly going to be a hard act to follow. So the mission study that was developed is to promote PROBUS Global through effective, ongoing communications with all members and support those who may enjoy travel around the world with local knowledge. To have a PROBUS Global member in every region and country where retired and semi-retired people seek to share their experiences with each other, directed solely towards acquaintance, fellowship, and learning, free from the constraints of politics, religion, fundraising, and competition. And the words, if you look at that up at the top on the second line, the words that I feel are important in our mission are the words communications, travel, and down below, share experiences, and fellowship and learning. So our worldwide, now this was yesterday, but this has changed today. Worldwide, we had yesterday 597 people, but today Richard sent me something new and it was 603, I believe. But if you look there, the United Kingdom has 269, Canada has 158, Australia 69, Ireland 34, Belgium 19, France 8, India 5, Germany 4, the Netherlands 3, United States 3, Chile 1, New Zealand 1, and South Africa 18. So that's a total of 597 with 13 countries. So our management team, this is the PROBUS Global Management Team, consists of Richard Furlong, who is acting president since Shirley passed away, Peter Jennings and Steve Muir, Rob Neary, Rob is from Australia, Dale Fawcett, and myself, and I'm the latest, I'm the newcomer. So what else can you do as a member? So all this information can be found on the website, and I don't want to steal anything that Peter's going to tell you, but I would like to go through just a few of the things, and then when Peter's going through the website with you, you'll be able to pick up on them. First of all, there is a quarterly newsletter, a global newsletter, and I think there's one coming out in September, so look for that. And usually when we get it, it is circulated to everyone. Plus there's newsletters from all over the world that are really interesting to read. From Australia especially has a book practically when they send it out. So you can be looking for those. There's even a magazine, a PROBUS magazine. And I can't see, oh yes, it says the yellow part says a global network of PROBUS friends online. And so it has, this is from 2019, but you could go online and make friends. There are all sorts of activities, such as some graphic art. There's a joke page, and I think Mary Campbell, you should check that joke page out. There's a poetry section. There's a chat room, and they meet every Sunday night. I think around, well, that's 6 o'clock my time, but I have never done that, but I'm going to try and do it. You can attend PROBUS meetings worldwide. The travel and the armchair travel, which is brand new, and maybe we'll hear a little bit more about that today. So the travel section was very popular until COVID hit us. And as I said, we're trying to adapt by doing this armchair travel thing. So a couple of years ago, speaking of travel, excuse me, I was celebrating a significant birthday, and I said to my husband, I think it's a good idea if we go to England, because we have very close friends there. And so that was what we decided to do. And I decided I was going, nothing. You're way ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I don't want you.
Go back. Excuse me just a minute. I didn't want that. So anyway, so we decided we'd go to England, and I called Shirley and I said, okay, Shirley, we're going to go to England, and I would like to see a couple of clubs there while I'm there. And so I told her where I'm going to be, and she said, okay, well, the best thing, I'll figure out the 3 clubs that are closest to you, where you're going to be, and you get in touch with them. And so I did. And the one club that I liked the best and was the closest, I decided I would visit them, and they invited me, and they told me also to bring my guests. So that's what we decided to do. Now before though, and Wynn went a little slide too far, but before that, before we went to the luncheon, we did go to the thing that everybody should go to if you like Downton Abbey, and we went to Downton Abbey. And this is where my slide of Downton Abbey should be. But anyway, we're past it. But inside Downton Abbey, we stood right here where you can see a lovely lady sitting in a chair. Well, that lovely lady was not sitting in the chair when we went in. I think there are about 30 in our tour. She was talking to us and walking around speaking to everyone. And then the curator said, we're going to hear a little bit before you go on your tour about the castle. And so I don't think she really told us who the person was that was going to tell us about the castle. So this person that had been walking around speaking to everybody started telling us all about the castle. And she spoke for about 20 minutes before we realized it was Lady Carnarvon who actually lived there. So that was really amazing. So that was what we did along with going to visit the club. So back to the club. And it was interesting because when I talked to the secretary, who is on my left there, before I went, he said, I'd like you to come over. And I said, and he said, I'd like you to speak a little bit about Canada, PROBUS in Canada. I said, that's fine. And he said, I asked, how long would he like me to speak? And he said, oh, 10 or 15 minutes will be just fine. I said, okay. So I didn't really make anything up because I thought, oh, for 10 minutes, I can just stand up and talk about PROBUS Canada. Well, we got to the meeting, and first of all, they have their meeting is actually a luncheon. Well, it's really a 4-course meal, a dinner, and it's at a lovely hotel. And we didn't want to be there right at the beginning because they told me it would be an hour before the meal that they would have meet and greet. So I think we were 20 minutes into it. So we went in, and first of all, I met this lady who came up to me and said, oh, you're our guest. You're from Canada, aren't you? You're our guest speaker today. And I said, yes, I am. I'm not your guest speaker, but I am going to speak a bit. Oh, no, really? And I said, yes. And so that was fine. So we spoke with people, and we finally came to the time that we were to have our lunch, which I have to tell you, we had been sent before we left Canada, a sheet with the menu on it telling us we had to choose what our 4 courses were going to be. It was a very extravagant lunch. And they were all having wine as well. We never did find out where to get our wine, but they were having wine. So we sat down to have our lunch, and I was sitting beside the president. And so he stood up before lunch, and he said, we're really glad to have Marlene Pierce and her husband and her friends here today with us. And because they're here, we're not going to have a meeting. We're just going to give her the hour or hour and a half to speak to us. So I had 15 minutes not ready, just in my head. So during the meal, I talked to the president, and he asked a few things about what I had done. So I explained a few things of what I had done in my design career. And one of them was that I was a color specialist, and I used to choose colors that would be produced 2 or 3 years ahead of time. And I told him all about that. And we talked about his Mercedes, that he worked for the Mercedes company and he always drove a black Mercedes. And I told him some jokes about that, and we kibitzed and so on. So when I got up to speak, after half an hour of hearing about PROBUS, he said, Marlene, that was really interesting what you were talking about. Can you tell the people all about what you used to do about choosing the colors? So for the next half hour, I talked about choosing colors to them. So anyway, and then it was a wonderful experience. And here you can see the group of them still in contact at Christmas time for Christmas cards. And one more picture of the president. I want you to notice his lovely necklace that he has on. Those brass pieces have the names of every president and the year. And then it's passed on. And he was telling me there is only room for 1 or 2 more, and they would be getting a new one. So I just tell you that story to tell you and show you that through PROBUS Global, that's what I was able to do with Shirley's help. And it's a very memorable trip to me. Okay. Yeah. So COVID has certainly made us use Zoom for our meetings. And now we have an opportunity to have speakers from all over the world and international speakers. Newmarket has taken the lead in securing international speakers for Zoom meetings, and they are using international speakers as well on their segment of who am I at their meeting. Now, I'm being the speaker tomorrow, but I'm not really considering myself an international speaker. However, I've attended so many of their meetings that I think they want to know a little bit more about who that person is that's been sitting up in the corner and watching all their meetings. But through PROBUS Global, Newmarket Canada and Newmarket UK were linked when the Canadian Club celebrated its 30th anniversary. And the Newmarket UK PROBUS president made the Who Am I speech. And then the club had mayors from Newmarket Canada and Newmarket UK, and they both spoke. So thanks to the Newmarket Club for their continued support. You have helped set up and managed to create a very friendly atmosphere that has opened up communications around the world. And I also want to say a very special thank you to you, Richard, for all of your endeavors to help make PROBUS Global the success that it has been. I recently received a note from Chris Leeworthy. This was a note actually that was sent to the Newmarket chapter or club, and he's from the UK, and he was the January guest speaker, and he spoke about the Battle of Britain. And in his note, he said, on a personal note, hats off and no mistake to you and your colleagues. I've not come across a PROBUS or indeed any other club that is so forward thinking as to take such a global approach to their activities and objectives. It is surely right to encourage and facilitate discussion and fellowship across the continents, as it will result in a far richer experience for everyone who participates. And I'll repeat that, it will result in a far richer experience for everyone who participates. And that's what I think PROBUS Canada can do for all of us. Thank you. So now I'm going to call on, let's see, Peter Jennings to continue and tell us about the website. Peter there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Attempting to share my screen. Has that worked? Do you have PROBUS Global on your screen? Or do you have the time?
Yeah, no, we could see the screen, but your video is,
But you've got the PROBUS Global website, okay?
yeah. So you get a lot of your bandwidth, Peter. You're pretty
Okay.
good up on your speech.
Okay. You do it down there. I did it.
Sorry, I'm on a different screen, so I'm trying to face two directions at the same time here. Anyway, following on from you're hearing me okay, Steve?
Yeah, it's all right now.
We can hear you. Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Following on from Marlene, I guess it was in 2018 that PROBUS Canada sent notices out to the club saying there was this new IPN international movement, and a person who travels a great deal. I've gone to 126 countries and love to travel, and thought, great, I'd love to be able to get to PROBUS meetings and meet PROBUS people in different parts of the world. I want to do this. And the contact at that time was Richard Furling. So I sent an email to Richard saying, tell us about IPN. He said, well, there's like 3 of us now, and it would be great if something would happen. And I said, well, I do websites. How about I start up a little website for you, and we'll see what we can make of it. So I did a tour at the last PROBUS Global meeting of the website, and it was well received. So I'm going to try and go through a little bit again. The website has had the same introductory section since the beginning. And the question at the end of this presentation will be, where is that picture taken? The most important part of the PROBUS Global website, for those of you who aren't members of PROBUS Global, is the button down here that says Join PROBUS Global. And that brings you to a very simple application form where you fill in your name, your email, and which club you belong to. And anybody who belongs to a PROBUS club anywhere in the world can join PROBUS Global. If you were already a member of PROBUS Global, let me point out this Invite a Friend button. And because if you're a member, then I'm sure you have a friend who you think should be a member. And if you put in their email address, we'll send them an email saying that you have been invited by your friend. Up until now, Shirley Roberts was taking care of this and inviting people. At this point, we're waiting to figure out who our new membership coordinator will be. But somebody will invite your friend for you. If you're new to the website, this is the recording of the last time I introduced it, and may well be the replaced by this recording if it turns out better, or maybe I should just do a separate one. But it's a guide through the website, and the same as this is recorded and available for viewing on YouTube. The latest feature of what we've been doing was a suggestion I made at the last meeting, was something I've done at a different club, was to ask a question every week or so of the members and just let them answer it, accumulate the answers, and then you go back a week later to see what different people have said and perhaps have some discussion on it. And it's a way to engage people with the website and come up with some interesting questions. So the question this week, and I hope I stay connected here. I'm at the cottage and I tend to lose the internet. But this week the question is, what is your favorite comfort food? Well, since this is mostly a group of Canadians, I don't need to tell you it's probably mac and cheese. We've got quite a number of mac and cheese votes, but the rest of the world has different ideas like fish and chips and baked beans and some curries and various other things. But you'll have to come back next week to see what the answers are to that question. And you're certainly welcome to come and put an answer in, or more than one if you've got more than one. Last week, the question was, what song takes you back and where does it take you? And now the answers are available for those questions. And I have to say that for over a week now, I have had this earworm on Del Shannon's Runaway, because that was the first one that came in. I set it up so that if you want to, you can now listen to that song directly. I hope there's enough internet connection here to hear it. Well, maybe not. Yeah, let's not overstress my internet connection. Anyway, you can all of the songs that were picked out by the 50 odd people who responded are now clickable so that you can listen to them on YouTube. Or there's a complete playlist and you can just set them up to listen. I was expecting that a lot of people would jump in afterwards and say, well, that song reminded me of some other experience in my life as well. And there wasn't a lot. There have been a couple of people who've added some songs since the end of the week, but maybe this will spur some people to add more comments to it. So returning to the main screen, definitely the most popular thing we've done because of COVID has been to have the various meetings where PROBUS Global members are invited. And as you can see, there are some PROBUS Global meetings. There's a video chat. It's every Sunday. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So you'll be late if you come at supper time, Marlene. It's going to be in the morning for you. It's in the afternoon in the UK. Robert Scott, who is listening today, is we should call him the chairman of that group, because he's the one who's there every Sunday. And then there are a few others of us who come and go, and Shirley Roberts used to be there every Sunday as well. And we certainly miss her presence. This has got to be the busiest week. We've had meetings in St. Catharines, Bradford, this meeting. Tomorrow we have Kirkcaldy in Scotland and Newmarket. And Thursday we have the Durham meeting. And these are all clubs that have invited PROBUS Global members to attend. So all you need to do is to click on the various link here to find out what is going on. And in theory, because I'm the webmaster, these should show local times wherever you are. But somebody tell me if that's not happening for you. So here was the invitation to today's meeting with Marlene. Big meeting coming up on October the 1st. October the 1st has been declared by the United Nations as International Day of Older Persons. And last year in Australia, PROBUS, PSPL, the South Pacific, declared it PROBUS Day down there. And they made a big deal of it, quite unbelievably, getting endorsements from various members of parliament, mayors, people from every town. The clubs really went out of their way to tell the world about PROBUS, partly to find new members and partly just to spread the word that PROBUS was an important activity and that it was very worthwhile. The video that they made afterwards last year is available, but this year Rob will come and speak to us. It'll be 8 a.m. Eastern time here. It'll be late evening in Australia. So PROBUS Day will be over and he will report on how PROBUS Day went in Australia and perhaps have some videos of what the clubs did there. One of the things they did was ask clubs to send in videos of what they were doing. So we tried to put the schedule of what's possible, what's available at the various clubs when people tell me about it. If we go further down that page, there are the meeting videos from the PROBUS global meetings. And the last few meetings have all been one country presenting. The first one back in January was Australia, a very long, comprehensive presentation by Silvana Montague, who is the president of PSPL. We had a presentation on Belgium, presentation on PROBUS in Canada, which you don't need to watch because you know all about it, PROBUS in France, PROBUS in India, and we're looking forward to PROBUS in South Africa. So I hope it'll be Nick French probably giving that presentation at the next PROBUS Global meeting after the one that's coming up. So going back to the main page, all the videos from the meetings are available on our YouTube channel, and I won't click on it because the slow internet connection is clearly not working for getting into YouTube. But it does include videos from club meetings when we have permission to do that, and of course all of the PROBUS global meetings. One of the most popular pages, of course, is the funny pages, and anybody can add a joke to it. It's members only, so it doesn't go beyond the membership group. And we find various cartoons. Some of them will appear in other newsletters. Some of them have come from newsletters. And if you're compiling your own newsletter, you'll probably find something of interest. And if you just like a laugh, I love going through it. It's a good way to start up your day. But the idea originally of PROBUS Global was to connect people. And so connecting people is an important part of what we have. And the various connections are, there's a video chat, and I won't go to that room now, but you don't even need to be on Zoom. It's built right into the web browser. And you just go there and it asks for permission to use your camera and microphone, and then you can chat with whoever else is in the room. Open 24/7. You can schedule with somebody else to meet there, or you can meet on Sunday mornings with whoever shows up. And it's been fairly popular. A number of people have been in there. The member chat room is a simple chat window where people can type little messages. I've been welcoming each member when they arrive. And then there's a page which we call the Pen Pal or Meet and Greet. Back in last fall, we did a survey, and one of the things people wanted to do was to know who was willing to be a pen pal or to have conversations by email. And so the people who were interested in doing that basically signed up. And so there's a page there where if you're interested in starting an email conversation with somebody, you can go to the meet and greet page. So on the other side of this is connecting if you want to find somebody. And if you're looking to find a PROBUS Global member, it's quite simple to just connect. And I don't know where your numbers came, Marlene. I think Richard's behind on some of them because I see we have 6 people in New Zealand, and I think you only said 1. So we're jumping up in the numbers there, but currently 604 members. And on this page, you can just find any member of PROBUS Global and where they are, which is a good way to get to meet people. And of course, the search works. So we could search for Marlene and bring up her profile page. And one of the things we haven't done a lot is encouraging people to put more in their profile page, but I think it's something we need to work on. But some people have their pictures up, some have a little biography, just various information. Quite easy to change it yourself. Just click on the Edit Information button and add whatever you want to yourself. Of course, there's a frequently asked questions page, and where the normal questions are. There's some pictures of the team, which are the group of us who are trying to make PROBUS Global work, and various other things that are about club management. And we've started here with the Toronto Club. Wrote an article about how to start a PROBUS club. So that's available without being a member for anybody who might come across the pages thinking about starting a PROBUS club, about how to do that. Newmarket created a wonderful operating manual for a club, and that's available for anyone to make use of. Rob Neary did something a few years ago on how to make your club successful, and put together some pages about that, including membership and retention. And Rob loves to do graphics, so he creates new signatures for everything. And the last thing that Rob did recently was, if you're thinking of reopening, what do you need to think about? And this was actually in our June newsletter, but it's available now on our site, a checklist for a club that's reopening after PROBUS. And it's available as a PDF file or also for displaying. And basically, the checklist goes on and on about what things you might want to think about before you open up. Some of these were based on the Australian rules, and some of them were based on what's just logical. But it was put together by a large number of people in Queensland, and it's very comprehensive and very useful, I think, for any club that's going through the process of deciding whether or not to open, and if they do, what they need to do about it. The newsletters, which Marlene mentioned before, is another very interesting page. We've got, of course, all of the PROBUS Global newsletters. There's been 6 of them so far, but also there are national letters from other countries. Ireland just did their first newsletter, and they're looking forward to doing more. The Australian ones are our full magazine. Canada, the last one I have is June, and I think there hasn't been a September one yet. Southern Africa, there's one from a while back in Japan, but Japan doesn't seem to be very active right now. Also, a lot of local clubs that have decided to send us their newsletters or share them online, and they're available when they get sent to me. I add them onto the web list. Or any that are public, they become Googleable. So there's actually a Google PROBUS newsletter, which just comes up with the latest newsletters that Google finds that are searchable on the web. And obviously, anybody who's creating their own newsletter will find so much material that they can use to create their newsletter that would be amazing. The travel group has not been so active in the last year, but was really part of the idea of what we were doing here. But there are some slideshows from various people's trips who've contributed them, including Shirley Roberts, of course, and her trip to South Africa. And then Jane and myself, we went to South Africa. So there are several trips to South Africa here. It seems to be a popular destination for travel. And we'd like to get that group going. It would be good to get a coordinator who is responsible for making the travel group more successful. And I think as we come out of COVID, we'll all be looking for how to do that. The other interest group that totally surprised me was by request and was part of the IPN. Apparently, there were a lot of poems and poetry shared in the old IPN. And so we created a poetry page. And there are an amazing number of poems, many of them written by members, and others just being ones that people thought were special and wanted to share. I think I've covered pretty much all of the various things. Obviously, finding a PROBUS club is as simple as clicking on the map and saying, I want to find a club in Canada. And then you could search for a particular club using the search buttons. And then you can find out from that club who the PROBUS Global members are. So if you're interested in going to Newmarket, you could contact members of PROBUS Global. I think that covers it, and we probably will have time for some questions afterwards. I'm not sure if I'm passing it back to Marlene or to Richard at this point.
I think Richard should take it from this point.
Thank you. I was sitting back and relaxing and enjoying the information that you and Peter were putting out there, and I thought my day was over. But what we really like to do at this point, I think one of the symbols that Marlene put on her invitation was the meet and greet and bring a friend. So, you know, that's a reminder that when we do things like that, like we're doing today, bring along your friends from your club or even people that are interested in knowing a little bit more about PROBUS. But what I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about our newsletter that's coming up. We have a target by the end of this week to go to press, so that, as they say, get all the articles in, and it is going to be a full newsletter. We have articles from India through to Australia, and we have articles from PROBUS members, and we have articles from PROBUS groups around the world. So it's going to be very informative. We're going to talk a lot of information on what's happening in different countries as far as the pandemic is concerned, and also the individual's experience, and also how they've connected with PROBUS Global and how it's had an impact on their enjoyment of life, how they've made friends worldwide. So that will be coming out within the next week or so. So if anybody has something they would like to submit by Friday, please get it to us and we'll make sure it's included in the newsletter. And I want to mention that Rob Neary, our management member from Australia, is our editor, and he will be ongoing as the newsletter editor. And he's done this for years in different clubs, different organizations. So it's really a professional, well put together program and the end product. So you'll be seeing that here in the next week or two. So that's the newsletter. We talked a little bit earlier about a new group we're forming, which is the Armchair Travel Coordinator. And we mentioned Wales as being our first site. We've got to work out the logistics of putting that together, and Rob and Peter will be leading that to as far as the logistics are concerned, and helping Robert and his friend Rufus in getting Wales in the forefront for everybody. So that'll be a great project. And then we're not defined completely, but we initially thought that we probably move the site around it monthly. So the next location will we'll look at who's available, who would like to do it. And South Africa sounds like a great place to think about, because they're becoming one of our very active new membership. Nick French is the president of the council in South Africa, has done an outstanding effort in supporting PROBUS Global. I must also add, in Nick's president, and I guess he's not here, but he also was a speaker at our club last month He spoke on the event of open heart surgery and talked a lot about heart transplants, that type of thing. An excellent, informative, and well-presented talk. And once he had finished, our club does have submit a fee for our speakers. And I just received from him yesterday that he had donated it to a charity in South Africa. So excellent all-around performance from that standpoint. So I think I've said enough. I think what I'd like to do is open it up to any questions and comments. And there's not a large group on today. I think the last time I checked, we have about 22 people or so. So rather than go to using the chat line, we can all unmute and just honor everybody else's comments and just have an open chat line on this. Thank you. Yes, Marlene.
Richard, do you mind telling us, like, how much would you donate to the speaker that you have, to the international speaker? Do you have a set amount in your club?
It depends on who our speaker is. For Nick in Australia, it was $100, or I guess it's sterling in Australia, £100.
Mm-hmm.
For a speaker from the UK recently, which talked about the building of the tunnel, I think we ended up at another £100 UK, so that would bring it up to about $160 or $170. Our speaker that's coming up tomorrow, actually, he's not doing this, he does this commercially, so I think we're probably a little bit more, but I think it's probably in the tune of $150.
Okay. All
So
right.
it ranges between $100 and $150. And most of the people that like Chris Leeworthy that you quoted earlier,
Yes.
what we did for him, he does his talks for charity. And because he was talking about the Battle of Britain, and we all know what a great job the Salvation Army did during the Second World War in supporting the troops, we agreed that we would give the donation to the Salvation Army here in Canada. So,
that was good. Yeah. Well, what I'd like to, we really don't have to pay rent to our venues right now because we're on Zoom. So we can afford, some of the clubs can afford to pay $100 for an international speaker. So thank you.
Yeah, our club here in Newmarket, we have always given a donation of one type or another, or paid for the speaker, depending on even when we have an author promoting a book, we ask him where he'd like to, donate, what charity he'd like to donate to. So,
yes.
Clubs are different, but that's what our format is.
Okay, thank you.
Nikki, you had your hand up, please.
Yes. Going back to the newsletters, I see you've got an old newsletter from 2019 from Tokai. Would you look, because I put all our newsletters on our website and I'm starting to put them on our council website. Would you like to have some latest ones from us as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Any one that you want to share that you feel comfortable allowing to the public, we'll put up on the website and either link to yours or just include the PDFs or whatever format it is directly. And the other option is to have newsletters that you might only want to share with PROBUS members and PROBUS Global members, which is an option set into the website. I can restrict it to people who are logged in, but nobody so far has wanted to do that. So at this point,
well, I think our members would be okay with that, because we do it, not all our clubs, but especially in Western Cape, we do have some clubs and they submit it to me monthly and I put it on our website. So I could maybe send them on to you.
Yes, just please just send them to me and I'll add them to our website.
How would I do that? Via email or?
Yes, just by email. Info@probusglobal.org is easy. or contact
Okay.
me through the form on the website is easy, and then we'll get in touch with each other.
Okay, all right. I'll do that.
Any other comments from, any
Yeah.
questions?
Richard, it's Reg. I'm really interested in your magazine or your newsletter, not your magazine, but your newsletter, but your distribution is strictly through the website?
Reg, no, what we try, that's one of the things we're trying to resolve is getting a good distribution. What we, like in the UK have no central organization. They're all individual clubs, all autonomous, very little communications, which is one of the things we're working on with a number of members over there, is getting a communication channel going. But when we have the newsletter coming out, and the last one, we have a system where we have all the email, or most of the email address for all the clubs in the UK. So we actually go in and email the newsletter. Here in Canada, certainly with Marlene's help, being the individual looking after PROBUS Global for PROBUS Canada, we ask her to go through a distribution channel. And normally what we do, I think Marlene could probably speak better to it, but at least send it to the directors so it can be sent out to the clubs.
But it is emailed to every PROBUS Global member. So Reg, all you need to do is become a member to get it yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of things like stealing material from your website or from your newsletter to put on our newsletter, and I'll bet you it'll be the highlight of the newsletter because people want to know what's going on around the world. And I'm certain that if they knew that if they turned to the back page, they'd get a international scope from you folks. I think there should be a way that every club in Canada has access to that newsletter of yours, so we can steal from it and let people know.
Marlene, are you there?
Yes, well, what we could do is send it to all the directors, who would then send it to all the clubs, like we do our own newsletter,
Yeah.
and then everyone would have it. Is that all right with you, Reg?
Oh yeah, listen, anything is all right with me. I've been sitting here saying, boy, that's the newsletter that I want to get a hold of.
Yeah, well, we'll do that. I'll see that it's done.
Well, from Reg, I will personally send you my edition.
I don't want any pictures of you, Richard.
But there are 6 of them already there, Reg. So if you just go to the newsletter page, and that doesn't, you don't even have to become a member to do that. We'll let you read it without becoming a member, and you can read the last 6 editions, and lots of stories from different clubs, and interesting stories of people meeting each other through PROBUS Global.
And I'll send out the September issue.
Yeah, but remember that what I said was we will want to share it. And so needless to say, there'll have to be an arrangement that says you're entitled to use anything as long as you give credit, et cetera, et cetera.
That's really what Reg is saying. We want to make sure that when we share that we're not, if there's no contradiction to what PROBUS Global is doing, PROBUS Canada is doing, we want permission to say, yes, we can share and we can use information there just as much as you might want to share something that we have.
Yeah,
So
I would say anything that we have created in the newsletter, you're certainly welcome to share. And it's hard to speak to what might show up in various newsletters that might actually have been copyright somewhere else. And certainly sometimes things like the cartoons will may or may not be totally above board to be shared. And I know that Rob Neary is being very careful that everything he puts in the newsletter, now that he's the editor, will be available. But I can't say that all the past newsletters, and certainly all the club newsletters that are on there, would all be completely legitimate to share in every way.
No, no.
Yeah.
You have to be selective.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, Reg, I think when we published maybe our, I'm not sure it was our March or June newsletter, you had contacted me and you'd asked if it would be okay to utilize one of the articles or a couple of the articles, and we agreed that would be not a problem.
Yeah.
Right. I think that we at PROBUS Global think the idea is to promote PROBUS, and when we create that newsletter, the point is for it to be shared. So, you know, sharing is very desirable as far as we're concerned.
Sharing is people.
Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the, and we work with, you know, the organizations in other countries, the central operate, like the South African group, through Nick French, who's the president, will be getting this, and he will send it out to his presidents. And I know the Belgium group do the same, the French group do the same. We're actually looking at, Peter, I hope you're listening. We're looking at, in this particular article, we want to talk, our newsletter, we want to talk a little bit about our distribution and also the language issue. How do we get it translated and so on and so forth. So there'll be a write-up there as to some of the options and approaches we want to take.
You'll be interested, Richard, that I just got a preview of what is going to be in Zoom next year. And that will be that Zoom will automatically translate languages. So you can have meetings with multiple people and the subtitles will appear underneath in different languages.
Wow.
There go.
That's amazing.
I don't know if they're going to start charging more for it, but it's certainly going to be ideal for groups like ours.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. The reason it really came to our attention, we had Germany say, what can you do as far as, it started with the website. How can we translate the website, and so that they could put it out to their members? But, you know, Peter is the guy. And, you know, we don't have that, that resources to do
it's one of these things that, interestingly enough, was actually easier a few years ago. Google used to have a button you could put at the top of your web page, and it would automatically translate the web pages. And Google removed that particular feature for some reason or other. And you can always use Google Translate, but it's a little more complicated, that's all.
Yes, wow. Wow. May I ask one more question?
Go ahead, Nikki.
As well as newsletters, what about functions that clubs do around the world? Like some of our luncheons where we may have a special speaker or something like that. Are you interested in having that on your website? For example, we may have a luncheon, you probably all do the same, and I take photographs of everybody at that luncheon and just say what that luncheon is about and who the speaker was and what he was talking about. Are you interested in having that, or is that just a bit tad too far?
Peter, you want to take that? We lost Peter. Really, Nikki, putting it into the website is, needs some expertise, and it's certainly, if it can go in there, we'll find a place for it. Just send it to us, send it to PROBUS Global, or send it to Peter and or any of the management team. We'll do our best to get it installed.
Yes, I mean, it's quite simple. It's just that, we use this website in South Africa and it's quite easy to set up. It's not very long, but it's just something, luncheons that each club does in Western Cape.
Yeah. Well, all the information about any club anywhere. We're interested in making sure that profile and information gets out there.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you put something together, if you have something now with an idea of what you'd like to do, send it to us and we can work with it and see where we can put it in that, it gives you the profile you're looking for.
It might
Yes.
even go in the newsletter.
Well, we do that, have it in the newsletter, but we also have functions on our website. I mean, for example, like tomorrow, for instance, I'm having with our two joint clubs are having a special luncheon tomorrow. And we haven't met since the second lockdown that we had here in South Africa, you know, so this is our first luncheon that we've had, you know, meeting together for quite a long time. And it's nice for us to try and get together, and we're trying to get as many people as we can. But, you know, this is our first time for a while.
Well, you know, in the case of the upcoming newsletter, there are articles from some different clubs talking about how they got their gatherings back and where they've met, and you know, their limit on the number of people and that type of thing. So it's a storyline that we will be publishing here in a week or so.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I see Dennis had a comment here, and he was asking about PROBUS in itself, whether in Canada we capitalize PROBUS Canada, and then a lot of the PROBUS Global is just the P is capitalized, and he's wondering a little bit why that has occurred. Well, a number of years ago, through Steve Campbell, we did go through the process of capitalizing PROBUS here in Canada. Around the world, Canada is the only one that has capitalized PROBUS at this point. So being a PROBUS global organization, we had to make a decision whether we utilize the Canadian PROBUS or the worldwide one. So at this point, we're sticking with the worldwide one.
Actually, Richard, we're sticking with the Canadian one. It's always capitalized. If you see PROBUS Global not fully capitalized, let me know, because it slipped through the cracks.
Right, a lot of the articles we get come in as lowercase.
Well, the other countries too, but PROBUS Global has always been written fully capitalized.
Okay.
That was a decision we made at some of the meetings a couple of years ago.
Okay, good. Thank you for the correction. Okay, any other comments? Any questions or comments? Or we have now, Marlene has really initiated this program, running it through the Canadian system. We also have two other coordinators around the world, one in South Africa and one in Ireland. And we're continually voting, trying, getting people. We have people discussing it in other areas of the world. We're looking at like the UK, and the debate is, do we go try and get a coordinator for the UK or each individual area, like Scotland and Wales and Britain, so on and so forth. So we're evolving this as we're involving the armchair travel coordinator. So we're ongoing and evolve as we go, looking for new programs, new ideas. So don't hesitate to let us know what your thoughts are, and thank you very much for attending today.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you
It was
for
very
having us.
interesting.
Thank you. It was great.
Very, very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was
Thank
great.
you all.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon or
Stay
evening.
safe.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
I know.
And we're always
Bye-bye.
available through the website.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
She's gone off.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Just you and me.
The Lone Rangers.
Yeah. Well, that went fairly well. Oh, wait a minute here.
Hear you there? Oh, yeah, I'm unmuted. Okay. But yeah, I